with the students with special needs, I'm determining if they have the potential to take driver's ed. To like, do they have the skills it takes to be able to drive, and do I think they could be successful taking driver's ed? And then how can I help them so that they can do the best possible? And I'm gonna mute all of you guys just so that you can be like doing your thing, and you don't have to worry about making any noise. And then I'll unmute you later once, because we'll be talking and stuff at the end. So I'm just gonna share my screen with you. And tonight's training that I'm doing is I want to teach you some secrets that you as an OT need to know when your clients want to return to driving. So I am an occupational therapist. I've been an OT for 20 years, and I started my business 3.5 years ago in September. And I became a driving instructor, and then I opened up this driving school, and then later I became a certified driving rehab specialist. And what that is if you're taking like a national board exam and you're answering questions about like all the medical conditions, what medical adaptive equipment is available for people to be able to drive. And then I created this driving school, and every year since I've grown, I've doubled from the year before. I grew actually 122% last year from the year before. So that was really exciting. And it just goes to show that there's a huge need for driving assessments and trainings in the state of Maine. And I expect that will continue to grow as more people learn about me and what I do. And so I'm an entrepreneur now, and I'm in the entrepreneur world. And there's an organization, SCORE, and they gave me an award. It's called the Success Award as a community champion last year. So basically, because I have such a niche business, that was one of the reasons why I was chosen for that award. And then I also got a grant last year. I applied for a grant, and I got $30,300, and which is amazing. And it's to grow my business, to expand programs, and just grow the business basically. So I'll be developing some new programs with this grant money. And Robin and I were talking earlier that one of the programs that I want to develop is a special needs driving program. So something to help kids with special needs in the state of Maine. So tonight what we'll be talking about is basically, I want you to have a starting point when your client asks you if they can drive again or when they can get back to driving. And no matter what setting you work in, I think that this would apply to you. I mean, unless you work with like really little kids, but, and then I'm also going to give you an introduction to the Maine state driving laws. So I know that you guys are all in the right place here tonight. I know we're all OTs, and I'm sure that all of you have clients and family members that ask you if they can drive, and maybe you're not sure how to answer them, or you're just thinking like, I don't know, but I sure as heck don't think you should be driving. Or you might have clients that have Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, brain injury, stroke, spinal cord injury. And I don't know about you, but I didn't know really much about the state laws before I got involved with the driving stuff. But really, this training is for you if you have patients that have had any functional decline in their abilities and you have concerns about them driving. Also, if you're unsure about what your role is as an OT, and sometimes you get conflicting results from supervisors, and obviously we want to help our patients, but maybe not everybody knows exactly how to help them get back to driving and starting that conversation. And you are interested in getting more information to share with families and your clients. So I've been an OT for 20 years. I've worked in all different environments. Started out at River Ridge and Kennebunk. I worked in acute rehab. I've worked in acute care, skilled nursing, home health, outpatient, early intervention, and now my private practice. So I know the different phases of recovery that people go through, that, people that you're probably working with. And I'm pretty amazed that driving is such a gray area. I mean, I feel like it shouldn't be so gray. I feel like this should be easy for us to talk about and be able to address. And sometimes I think we might expect that the doctor's going to talk about driving, and maybe we don't always feel comfortable talking about it. We might say like, oh, just why don't you talk to your doctor? But then the doctor is like, okay, see you later. I'm only seeing you for like 5 minutes. Or maybe they don't want to talk about it because they've been following the patient for years and they don't want to lose that patient. They've got a relationship with them. Maybe some of you might have had patients that have pretty significant impairments in their driving. But they say like, oh, I just go to the store. I just go short distances. Or maybe this is sort of a touchy subject and you're not sure where to find information on it. So I didn't really always know exactly what the state laws were, and I wasn't sure how to handle my treatment sessions. I remember one time when I'm from Maine originally, and I moved out to California, and then I came back, and I had a patient that had had a stroke, and he had significant impairments, and he had left neglect, and he was recovering the use of his arm, and he'd made good recovery, and he lived out in the country, and one day he just decided to drive himself to therapy. And the secretaries were like, Heather, he drove himself to therapy today. And even they were like, I don't think you should be driving. And I was like, well, I have to do something, but I don't know what to do. I mean, where do you go? And so I learned that there are state laws, and there's actually a process that we should follow for people. Maine is one of the oldest states in the United States. It's pretty obvious, but people are driving longer now. We are the most educated aging population in the history of the world, basically. So we're not wanting to sit around and like stay at home. We want to be on the move. So driving is important. But as we age, we have medical conditions that affect us. And it's really the medical conditions. It's not the age, it's the medical conditions. But of course, as we get older, we're more frail. So when there's an injury, it causes a greater impact, particularly if there's accidents, that increases their risk. And people certainly want to maintain their freedom. That's really it. I think that a lot of our patients take their bodies for granted. They don't really see what we see. They don't realize like how neuropathy is actually pretty important. It's could potentially be dangerous for people. And they often will downplay their impairments. They may not want to talk about them because they don't want to say anything because it would risk them stopping driving. But I want to talk about driving. That's what I do. And I want people to feel more comfortable with it. And that's like why I'm passionate about helping OTs. And this is why I'm reaching out to people, because OTs are in a position to make a difference. And we're working on this stuff with people. We could actually potentially make a difference for somebody, getting back to driving safely, or, holding off for a little bit longer. And I've spent a lot of years learning this. I worked at New England Rehab in the outpatient clinic, so I would work with people for months to get them ready to get back to driving. So I really learned all about vision and cognition, and then, of course, physical rehab too. And I wish that I could teach everybody everything, but tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about it. But I'm pretty sure, you know, a lot of OTs, their patients, their number one goal is to get back to driving. Dr. Ben Branch down in Portland, he said he's a physiatrist. He said that's everybody's goal, is to get back to driving. And a lot of people are not honest with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. They don't, first of all, they don't know that they need to report certain medical conditions, and when they renew their driver's license, they're supposed to write down that they've had a medical condition. And so a lot of people don't even write anything because they don't want them to know and don't think that it's important, even though it's actually the law to do that. And family members are often in a really difficult place too, because they don't want to be the ones to have to say that their loved one can't drive. I've seen a lot of times too that doctors tell people that it's okay for them to drive, but we as OTs might think, no, they shouldn't be doing that. I mean, there's all these concerns that I have, and the doctor just said they could drive. So we are in there with people, and I feel like we have a unique perspective on people. I've had a lot of people say that they'd rather die than stop driving. And there's also a lot of people who could drive because there's adaptive equipment for them, but they didn't even know it was an option for them. So they haven't been driving all this time, and it could like open up a world for them if they can get out there and drive. But I find that most people they're unclear about what the rules are and the regulations in the state of Maine. But I want to teach everyone that it's never too early to start talking about driving. No matter where you are, if you're in acute care, you can talk about it. You can just let people know what the big picture is, or let them know what their options are, because it helps with communication with the patient and the family members. And we can start talking to them, integrating and educating them about what the laws are. In our therapy session, we can also explain like how their medical conditions affect them. So did you actually know this, that in the state of Maine, it's the individual's responsibility to report medical conditions? Did you guys know that? I know the majority of people don't know this. And so it's actually not the doctor's responsibility to report medical conditions. Now ethically it is their responsibility, and it's our responsibility ethically too. But the law is actually that the individual reports the medical conditions. So there's actually a list of medical conditions that the state has that it categorizes different medical conditions, and they, depending on the level of impairment, will require a road test. And I think that OTs we are some of the best suited people to help our clients to reach that maximum level of independence with what I call pre-driving skills. Those are all the skills that you need for driving, but we use those skills for medication management, cooking, executive functioning, shopping, organizing. You use those skills with driving also. And I find that clients actually will stay, if we educate them that they're not safe to drive right now, and these are the reasons why, they will honor that as long as they understand what the reason is and that there's hope for them. So like I was saying, some people may be required to take a road test, and OTs may feel like, well, I don't think they're ready to take a road test yet. They've got a lot of issues that I need further looking into. That's where I come in, where doing a driving evaluation. So with my private practice, I just do driving evaluations and driving trainings for people to figure out if they're safe or not, to see if they're okay to get back to driving, and maybe do we need to still work on stuff a little bit longer. And people can do a driving evaluation before they take a road test. So here is a website And I can always email this to you guys if you want it, but if you Google Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles medical conditions, it will bring you to this medical and license website. And I'm going to show it to you here coming up. So I just kind of want you to know how you look at that. And I've developed an online course for OTs, and so I look more in depth at that, but tonight we're just kind of briefing over it. But this is what it looks like when you come to that website. And I'm going to enlarge this to make it easier for you guys. Okay. So you can see the different categories here. Cardiovascular, chronic pulmonary disease, dementia, hypoglycemia with or without diabetes, mental disorders. There are different musculoskeletal and neurological disorders. So you can read those. A lot of the people that I see have musculoskeletal and neurological disorders and dementia. So now the state just updated these functional ability profiles, and this is something that you guys can learn more about yourself. Whoops. Oh. Okay, and there are these medical forms there that you can click on and learn about what those medical forms are. So the state actually, they get information from doctors, from sometimes when somebody's applying for a permit, if they're renewing their license, they may have been in an accident and the police reported them. That's how the state might find out about somebody that we're concerned about. Also, family can write written reports, and physicians can do that as well. In the law enforcement, like a police officer may actually fill out some information and send it into the state if they're concerned. They come to an accident and it's like a confused elderly person, then they might report that to the state. And even like citizens can report something, like say your neighbor is an elderly person and their family lives far away and they never see them, and you've been seeing them like knock into the mailbox, or you've just been concerned about them. Maybe you've seen some scrapes on their car or something like that. A concerned citizen can actually report someone if they're questionably safe. So then if, so this is what is here on the Bureau of Motor Vehicles website. And basically, this is just saying that the doctor is responsible for communicating with their patients when they have concerns about their driving safety. So that really is their responsibility. And then the doctor must send something in writing, which includes this information. So basically, you know, the state really wants the doctors to be sending this in. We as OTs can also do that. And this I kind of think we would fall underneath the concerned citizen reporting. A person, you know, as OTs, we might have concerns about someone driving. We can fill out a form and send it in to the state. So really kind of like figuring that out, if somebody can drive or not, and wondering, like, as OTs, how do you progress your patients? How do you help them? How can you help them get back to driving? And maybe you want to learn more about screening tools or assessments that correlate with driving. I have developed an online course. Hi, Eric. I've developed an online course. So what I've been doing is gathering information to help occupational therapists so that they better know how to prepare their patients to get back to driving. So I'm calling this the OT's handbook, kind of like the handbook that you get at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and this is for getting patients back behind the wheel. So this is what I've done is I've recorded videos, and it's teaching the ins and the outs of everything that you need to know about how to help your patients get back to driving, how to know when they can drive or not, and how you progress them. So it has 10 different modules in it. Now, it's probably like 4 to 5 hours long. So it's not like 10 hours of class. And so what I'm doing is in the first module is talking about OTs, how we can make a difference, and how talking about our roles as occupational therapists and how we actually play a huge role and can impact people. Then I go into, in the second module, ethical responsibilities that we as occupational therapists have, and that AOTA is actually really working on addressing. And there are different, so AOTA has a program, it's, oh, I'm totally spacing what it's called. But anyways, they've got like, you can specialize in doing driving. So they're really working on increasing awareness for occupational therapists with driving, particularly with senior drivers. Then in the third module, I go over what the main state laws are, like I just showed you earlier, but way more in depth. So what we do is we go into those different, all of the different medical diagnoses and how the state defines what those medical conditions are, and then how you know when somebody needs a road test or not, and just kind of like what the proper channels are and how we can actually be a part of that. The next thing I'm doing is teaching you about where to begin with your patient. So like, how do you get started? What do you do? So it's a step-by-step sequence of looking at all of the pre-driving skills and communication, how you talk about it, how you educate, what exactly you can do in your therapy sessions, and then assessments that you can do, and how you, like what assessments correlate with driving, and then there are screening tools and assessments, and then treatment ideas. So talking about, there's a ton of different treatment ideas that we can do in our therapy sessions that are related to driving, but they relate to other things too. So I'm teaching you about documentation, like how do you document that? Because I know that's an iffy thing and with the insurance companies, because they don't want to pay for driving, but it's stuff that applies to other things, and also community mobility, so that you can actually be working on this and be getting it covered. And then I have a couple of special bonuses. I don't know if you guys know Dr. Colin Robinson. He's a neuro-optometrist in Windham, Maine. And he is, sorry, I was just like muting someone because I could hear some background knowledge. But so Dr. Robinson is a neuro-optometrist, and he specializes in all the stuff that happens when there is like a brain injury, a stroke, brain tumor, anything neurological that impacts visual processing skills, visual field cuts, hemianopsias, visual midline shift. What he does is extremely specialized and so helpful. And he and I are going to collaborate together. I'll be the patient, he'll be the OT, and he'll be teaching OTs how we do visual assessments in our therapy sessions and how you problem solve. How do you know when you refer to him or to like a regular optometrist? Because these visual impairments, if you guys have had any patients with these visual impairments, they're very complicated and they're hard to treat. But that's what I'll be teaching you how to do. And then also Kim Morin is an occupational therapist here in Brunswick. She is an amazing OT, and she has so many great treatment ideas. We used to work together, and we want to share our treatment ideas and experiences with you so that if you are an OT working wherever with this population who is driving, you're going to be a lot more comfortable and know exactly how to go about doing, addressing driving in your practice. So as a part of this online course that I'm doing is also 4 weekly Zoom calls, just like we're doing here now, because this will help us to implement the information and help us talk about stuff, talk about difficult cases, how you, like, what do you do? I think sharing stories is really beneficial for people. And there is nothing like this right now in our profession. I've done a lot of research. There's nothing teaching people about how to get people ready to get back to driving. It's all focused on like driving. So I think we could really make a difference for that. So I wanted to share some testimonials because I've had some people go through this online course, and Sherry Grenier said that these are very informative videos, carefully instructed by Heather Shields. Does an amazing job of explaining the importance of the OT's role in assisting our clients with returning to driving. She not only educates on the skills and cognitive function required, but also a variety of functional and cognitive testing that can be done in the variety of diagnosis population addressed. She takes something very complex and walks you through the necessary steps involved to make sure one is safe on the road, or maybe when one may not be safe on the road. And Sherry works in home health. Another person, Angela Chapman, she's an OT in an outpatient clinic at Maine General, and she kind of does more orthopedic stuff. And so she said that working in an outpatient hand clinic, I rarely get the chance to work with patients with neurological conditions. However, I recently worked with a gentleman who had suffered a CVA, and his limitations were strictly cognitive and visual perceptual, and his main goal was to return to driving. I heard about Heather and her driving rehab program, so I reached out to her for some guidance on how to prepare this patient for driving. She was extremely helpful in giving suggestions for treatment ideas and online resources to utilize. We had many conversations throughout my time treating him to track his progress and ensure he would be ready to drive by the time she scheduled her meeting with him. She clearly is an expert in her field and is providing an extremely valuable service to this population. So this guy had a stroke, and he was just raring to drive, and I knew over the phone talking to him that he wasn't ready. And so I talked to Angela, and I really reinforced her to work on a lot of visual scanning, a lot of visual searching, scanning, visual processing, challenging that cognitive skills and attention. And she worked with him for probably like 2 or 3 months more, because I gave her all the stuff that she could work on. And this is Miriam Monahan. She is a leader in driving rehab. She has been an OT and a CDRS for she's been an OT probably for like 30 years and a CDRS for like 15 years. But she really applauds me on addressing this topic, because we are not really giving the treatment and assessment enough attention in this profession. I had a testimonial from some UNE students, but I'm not going to be able to show it on this in this Google thing. But if you're interested in taking this course, so this is the first of this type, and this first group is going to be what's called a beta group, and we are going to be I'm going to be giving you all this information and training you, and then we will be fine-tuning it and tweaking it, improving it, like areas where people might say, oh, well, I wish there was more of this or more of that, then I'll be able to give that to you. And so if you are enroll in this class for this very first group, you're going to have lifetime access to this course, because you will have your own password, and you'll have be able to come back and rewatch these videos, and anything that I update, you'll have access to. The price will be $197 at, this entry level. And I'm going to be releasing the videos on June 1st. I'm going to be, that way people will have a chance to enroll, get a chance to decide if they want to enroll in this course. And I'm just going to unmute everybody in case. You can mute yourself if you want to be muted, but I'll just open it up. So this beta program, is something that you're going to want to be a part of, because you get to actually create it. So whatever it is that you're interested in, I can put that in there for you. Okay, I guess that's it. That's the end of that. So I want to open it up to questions here, if anybody has questions. And I'm gonna get off of this. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the share. So we have, we're lucky here to have Eric Bellavance with us on this call. And Eric is amazing. He works at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and he pretty much knows everything. And I went to him when I first started my business and said, hey, Eric, I'm thinking about doing this, and do you think there's a need for this? And he said, yeah, and he's been super supportive of this. So I think that, Eric is here. He has all this knowledge. If anybody has questions about state laws, I think feel free to ask, because he's here. If you don't, and maybe you just have some questions, go ahead and shoot them out, even if it's not about the state laws.
Heather, I'll share my email address, so if people think of questions that they want to ask later on, that's fine.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, there's a chat screen down below.
Okay, yeah.
And you can just put your email address, and yeah. So I'm curious, are you guys who are here attending tonight interested in, so why did you come to this conference tonight? Are you guys interested in driving?
Yeah, I know for me, I'll speak up, in the home care setting, especially after somebody's had an injury, in my setting, it's about they're homebound at this point because of their injury, and they're eventually hoping to get back to not being homebound, to not relying on family or other transportation, so they can finally be independent again to be able to drive themselves. And maybe they broke a leg, or maybe they had a stroke, or just depending on their situation. And I know it's always, yeah, I really want to just get back to driving, want to be independent again. And I never know what to say, I'm like, well, talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
That's really, really know what to say. And they're like, well, the doctor didn't say anything about me not being able to drive, or
yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, well,
nobody told me that I could.
It's definitely one of those areas. Right. And I'm like, well, I really would recommend you wait until you talk to your doctor. And because, yeah, it's really an area that I know for me, I haven't really known what's out there for resources. I'm like, well, there must be something out there.
Yeah.
But just really didn't know. Yeah, I was definitely interested in learning more.
And so at your where you work at Maine General and the home health, do they have anything that they do to address driving as a part of the home health? Okay, yeah,
No,
yeah,
nothing at least that I'm aware of, but
right.
yeah.
I think we could be doing a better job as OTs. And so the reason why I'm passionate about this is because I was like you before. I had no idea, but I was like, this is so weird. How could there like not be, why doesn't people know about driving? And um, so I used to work at New England Rehab in the outpatient clinic. And because I worked there with Susie Kelly, she does driving evaluations. I learned a lot from her, and I learned about how you continue working on things like, oh, they're not quite ready yet. You still need to work on vision a little bit more. They don't have enough, like they're still, their peripheral vision is not good enough, or, problem solving that stuff before I set them free. And I feel like so many people, they don't know that because they didn't have that experience working in that type of a setting. So how would you know if you've never seen that, And so that's why I think that there's a lot of stuff that we could be doing. And that's what I'm wanting to do in this course, is to help OTs so that you feel comfortable, okay, great. Okay. They asked me, I know what to say. I know. Like a lot of times I'll show people that the Bureau of Motor Vehicles laws, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know about that, And so just, I want to teach people all of that, because I think for one thing, we can help people way more. We can communicate better. We actually know what to tell them, and we can be proactive too, because we want to put it off to the doctor, but we actually can say something. We can say, you're not quite ready, and here's the reason why. And then you can keep them in your therapy as long as you can until, I know in home health you do have to abide by the rules, but, you can be, depending on what setting you are, then you're really confident, like before you discharge them and send them to outpatient, you can pass that information along. How about, does anybody else?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think even just having resources.
Yeah.
Just having the resources to have like the screening tools, stuff like that would be super helpful too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of online tools too that you can use in your therapy sessions that are really dynamic, and we cannot, we're always trying to like make stuff up, and we can only be so creative in our therapy sessions, but there's actually a lot of really good dynamic tools out there that is more challenging than what we could give someone, that we could come up with on our own, and we can do that as a part of our therapy session. People are welcome to comment and contribute or ask questions. Eric, I think it might be nice. I was speaking with Thea Fickett and asking her if OTs can send in that driver medical evaluation form. And she said that OTs can, they do, you guys prefer to get it from the physician, but OTs, they will accept it from OTs.
That's correct. Any medical professional can send it in.
Okay.
And as you said, we get those reports from law enforcement, concerned family members or neighbors. When people report, for instance, a family member or neighbor, they have to report it in writing. We don't disclose that where we got the information unless the person requests it. Then we're required to do so. But unless they ask for it specifically, we don't disclose it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a touchy situation with a lot of people. Driving in Maine is pretty much a necessity. Public transportation is not good. Even our cities aren't pedestrian friendly. So this is a huge issue that's going to continue to grow. And I think it's an open market for people that, with your expertise, to fulfill a need. It's going to be there for quite some time.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice to hear you say that because, that's how I've doubled my business each year, because there's a need. And there's so many people who don't even know that this exists. I mean, did you guys actually know about driving rehab before I started emailing you? Yeah. So
I thought it was just an outpatient.
What did you say?
I thought it was just like an outpatient settings here and there, but I didn't even know.
Right.
Where.
I mean, it's fairly, it has been here, like Ketra at Alpha One has been working for years doing this. I am the newest one, but I'm just, because I'm working for myself, I'm able to really grow this and do my own thing. But anyhow, so yeah, I was able to get the list of all the occupational therapists in the state of Maine, and that's how I've been reaching out to you guys to just educate people, because I want people to know that there are options.
Just so everybody's aware, on my end, the part of my job is administering the driver education program. I used to be the manager of the medical unit, but a reorganization put that under a different manager. So it's important to get a hold of me if you have any questions, because depending on what you're doing may require you to be licensed as a driving instructor. It's nothing that's, for the behind the wheel only. It's a Class B instructor license. It's not difficult to get, but there is a legal requirement for it. So if anybody has any question, you can either visit the website or you can call me directly.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And so, yeah, what I am teaching, what I want to teach is to teach OTs not how to be a driving rehab specialist,
Right.
but how to do all the work to get the patient ready to get back to driving.
Right.
But it is good that that Eric mentioned that, because as OTs, we can't just like get in the car and drive with a person. You do have to be a driving instructor. You have to have a driving school. There has to be an instructor's break. And so yeah, that's kind of the difference between like me and generalist OTs.
I've been trying to get some of the driving schools to get on board with this. Been trying to relay to them, their market is disappearing. And if you look at the school enrollment numbers for the past 15 years, the numbers have been going down anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 kids a year enrolled in school. And if you look at right now, the middle school ages that will be coming up, those numbers are dropping dramatically year to year. So that market's going to disappear. And all the baby boomers now are entering. So it's sort of like we got them on the beginning end, and now here's a chance to do it on the other end.
Yeah.
So I think, a program such as yours, and also getting an OT to maybe partner with a driving school and have an instructor that does the actual behind the wheel stuff, but the OT getting the person, physically and cognitively ready to drive, and taking it from there.
Yes. Yeah. And so the difference between us and driving instructors is driving instructors do not have the medical background that we have. So sometimes driving instructors might think, oh, they can just keep practicing and they'll get it. But somebody who has dementia is not going to get it, So that's where the partnership helps, because when we're trying to make these determinations, is it safe or not, that's where, that's kind of the difference between us. Are any of you guys interested at all in learning more about it?
Yeah.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, Heather. I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
I mean, I work in home care as well, so I'm always working with people to get them to do the things that they want to do, their goal. So my question is, do you look at positioning with people when they get into their cars? I'm asking because I had one lady, she didn't know about all of her adjustments in her for seating.
Mm-hmm.
Got behind the wheel, and she was literally like her eyes were in line with her steering wheel. So I helped her with positioning and getting her hips all the way back. She had a lot of kyphosis, and I tried to get her actually set up with you, but it didn't quite happen. But anyway, adjusted the seat, and she was much higher and could see, and she'd been driving like that for years. So
Yes, and that's simple stuff that we can do as home health therapists can do with our patients. I mean, there's a lot of easy adjustments that can be made, and I know like AOTA has CarFit, and I think that's a nice, there's tons of information about CarFit. That's a great resource for OTs to kind of have a checklist of things to go through with people. Like, how far should the steering wheel be from their chest, and how high should they be able to see out? How do you adjust your mirrors, because they've kind of adjusted that a little bit now, and that's definitely something that we general OTs can do with people. And definitely, I think, I don't have that in the course right now, but I can easily add that, and that can be something that we can.
I think it's huge, really.
Yeah.
She was amazed. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I can see." I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, take a deep breath and pray. Close your eyes.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not kidding. It was really like, I was astounded by her positioning in the car. So,
And so also for really short people, they make pedal extensions that can go on the pedals that will make a difference for really short people. And sometimes that's really all they need. So they could get a little further away.
That's good to know. So my other thing is that I do this all the time.
Hi, Max.
I do this all the time with people, with like getting in the car and doing those things. But I think documentation is how to document and write goals around these activities, that we're doing with them anyway. I could do a job with that. Sure.
Yeah. And it's honest documentation too. I mean, it's just, we have to do it. And it's, in AOTA and the National ADED organization, they're trying to get insurances to cover driving. And I mean, who knows when that's going to ever happen, but they're working on that.
And my goal areas really stop at like the patient will be able to get in and out of their vehicle safely without pain, or, positioning in the car. I've done goals around that as well.
Oh yeah. No, that's good. And so we can, if people are allowed to take patients in their car, there's a lot of passenger activities that you can do with people. You drive and the patient's in the passenger seat, and you work on visual scanning and problem solving, so you can start to see like, are they noticing things, or are they kind of like clicking? And I mean, you can only do so much, but it's a good thing to do in therapy. It gives you an idea if you think, yeah, actually they did pretty well. They seem to be aware of that,
Now, my question with that being in home care, I was under the impression that we're not allowed to bring in our car, vice versa, as a
Well,
liability. But
yeah,
again,
and that's why I was
into
saying
that more.
that's why I was saying it depends on what your policies are where you work. Some, like when at New
Yeah.
England Rehab, we had a company car, so we could take them in that, and because like they would take people on outings and stuff. But yeah, in home health, they're depending on which organization, they might be more strict and not allow you to have patients in your car. I suppose you could always drive their car. But I bet you the home health agency would still say no.
Yeah.
I think the liability thing freaks people out.
We can't even put a grab bar mounted on their wall because we're putting holes in their wall.
Oh, yeah.
We can recommend where to find them, where to place them, all that
Yeah.
good stuff, but
Yeah.
recommend a handyman locally.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, what
And
I
a
want
tire
to do
hand.
is, I want to leave. So I'm doing one webinar a week for a month because I want to increase awareness for people. And I also want to give you guys time to think about if you want to enroll in this course. Now, I am going to be getting into continuing ed units. Right now, it is not, but in the state of Maine, we don't need continuing ed units, and whenever I take any continuing ed, I always just keep track of it in case I were to get audited. So I know that's a concern for people, is are there continuing ed units? So right now I don't officially have them, but I'm working on that. And if you guys know anybody that might be interested in that, I'd love to, just please spread the word about it. So does anybody have any other questions? Thanks.
Good
yes.
job. Good job for your rookie trip.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. So Eric, I don't know if you were on earlier, but I did record this.
Okay.
Is it okay with you that I send it out to people?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, great. Because I think this is going to be really good. And a lot of people, this be nice for them to catch this when they have an
Right.
opportunity. So I'm so glad you were here. This was really good having Eric here, and we really appreciate you. And I'm so thankful to have you as a resource at the state. And you guys have been really great.
Boy, do I have you fooled.
So thanks you guys for coming, and we will end it now, and you guys can get on with your night.
Thanks,
Have a
Heather.
nice,
Yes.
have a nice
Heather.
evening, everyone.
you.
Okay, nice to see everyone too. Thank you so much for spending your time with me tonight.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good nighty night, Lynn.
Good night,